All right, we're on day 15 of raising Cornish without any electricity. We got them on the 18th, and yeah, we're a little over. Yesterday was 2 weeks since we picked them up. The idea is to raise them when it's hot here in Texas. So I don't know that this will work out everywhere, but here in Texas, it's now August, so it's almost 100 every day. Well, that's the temperature that these chicks love to have. So just yesterday, we moved them out to these 4 coops. There's 4 of these tractors. They're 6 foot by 10 foot. There's 136 birds, and eventually I'll have 7 of these coops ready to go, so then there's roughly 20 in each coop. But right now they're still small enough that this works out fine. So here's everybody. Actually, these feeders come from Premier One. This is the 28 pounder. They're kind of expensive, but they're awesome. They don't waste it. You won't see a little tiny bit of food around there. They don't waste any food. And they hang, so you can easily move the tractors. And then we also love these waters. The only thing is these things are, they're great for chickens, but sometimes we have our pigs break into the coops and they're just trash after that. The pigs have no problem breaking those apart to get to the feed. They're not pig proof. And then these Placid waters, love those too. So we have a bucket on the back of the coop that just keeps them full of water. So they have, between this feeder and that water, they have enough food and water for a couple days at least, even with the way these things eat. So as they eat up this grass and make it nasty in here, it doesn't take long for Cornish Cross. We'll move them. So it's on some wheels back there. It's been a while since I did a video of my coops. I guess I'll do that real quick. I've made a lot of changes since I built these. So here's one of the newest ones. We had some latches on here that are, here, let's see these, which is great because the idea was a raccoon can't pull that back and open it. But the problem is, as this wood moves around with the humidity and different seasons, sometimes these things kind of get out of adjustment or pain in the butt to open and close. So it doesn't take much, just a pair of pliers, bend this one way or the other, and it fixes that. But my boys and my wife don't usually get that done. So and then we do also have latches on the inside, so when you go in trying to catch birds or water them or whatever, you can close the door behind you and keep these helpers out, pigs out if you have pigs with you, and keep the chickens in. Looks like this one, the water, sometimes these start growing algae, which plugs up the hose, and so then they don't get water, so you got to check that every day. And this one I see is dry, so they have a couple waters in here. Must need to fix that one. And one of the newest changes is the roof. So I've tried lots of different things. Those white tarps, they get real brittle in the sun, especially down here in Texas, and they last maybe 2 or 3 months, and they start getting so brittle you can just go over there and push your finger through them. And then a little bit of wind, and they just fall apart real easy, and they're expensive. So I've been experimenting with this. This is called Panda Plastic. It's for either vapor barrier proofing your crawl space, or for greenhouses. So it's white outside and black inside, so it stays nice and cool inside the coop. It's actually really cool in there. Where those white tarps, they also kind of made like a greenhouse effect, and it was actually hotter inside the coop than it was outside. So this is great for that, and it's cheap. You get for the 5.5 mil, you can get a roll for like 90 bucks on Amazon for 100 feet, which will do 9 coops, because mine it's about 5 foot, and then an extra foot just for some extra. So about 11 feet per coop is what I use. So it's real cheap per tarp, even if they do wear out. I did have to replace these this time. I think it was about a year ago or so I put these on there, and I think it was a change of the seasons. The sun hit the white, and then all of a sudden a few of them just split. I guess got too tight or something. So when I put this on this time, I didn't get the plastic as tight as I did before. My OCD wants that plastic to be nice and flat and perfect and not moving around in the wind, but I think that's what broke it. So it's just held in with these tracks. Screw these tracks onto the coop. I have wood rafters instead of those metal ones like Seskovich shows. And then this is called wiggle wire. It comes with that track. It's for greenhouses, and that stuff just goes in there and holds that plastic. So every couple years when we do have to replace this plastic, you just pull that wire out of there and this pops off there and you can put the new one on. That doesn't take too long. I did on my last ordered some 10 mil instead of 5.5, so it'll be about twice as thick, and I'm gonna see if that lasts even longer. And it was like 135 a roll so it costs a little more, but if it'll last a couple years instead of 1 year, then that was definitely worth it. Okay, back to, so these are some of my older coops. So they still have the old flat doorways on them. Looks like on this side I don't have any of my newer ones. See if I can find one here. Oh, these are different chickens. Here, I'll zoom in on this one. So this one here, you can see I've started using 2x2s and making the door fit, match the shape of the coop. There, you can see that one sitting open, and that works a lot better. It's stronger and doesn't move around as bad as the flat green wood like this stuff does. This stuff moves around with the seasons and gets warped real bad, and this stuff's just been a pain. And my pigs can get their nose in behind there and pull it open. These have just been a pain. So as the pigs break them, and whenever I once in a while go through and remodel a bunch of coops, I've been swapping these over for those 2x2s. But the chickens seem real happy. And here I can show you my wheel system. I do have a separate video on my YouTube that shows this. It's kind of like a, what do they call it, like a chick, I don't remember what it's called. It's a design, you can actually buy this pre-made, but I made my own. I'm too cheap. Last I knew they're like 150 bucks, but so I just welded this stuff up. There's a hinge right here and a hinge right here, and this is a piece of angle iron goes across there, piece of angle iron here with a little axle welded to it. For the wheels, just Harbor Freight wheels. So I built all this pretty cheap, and I'll show you how it works. So you can just step on that until that plate comes up. Now, there's chicks right there, so I don't want to lift it all the way up. Let's see here. Let's see if there's wheels on this other one here. So these chickens won't run out if I do that. Oh, of course, this one doesn't have wheels on it. What is it, Ruby? Grasshoppers? But anyway, when you step on this, that little plate right here falls behind that piece and holds it off the ground. And then the string is so that you don't have to bend over when you step on this to let it down. When you step on this, you just pull up on that string and it releases it, lets it back down. You happy, chickens? And these are 12-gallon totes from just Lowe's or Home Depot. I've started experimenting with putting the lids on, trying to keep the algae down, and it seems like it's working. It's actually nice clear water still. And then I just drill a hole right there with the rubber hose that comes with the waterers. So I make that hole slightly smaller and then shove that hose in there. Starting to get some designs we really like. So Seskovich, when you build off of his plans, they'll have you using 1/2-inch EMT metal conduit that goes up over, and then you put hardware cloth over that and then a tarp over that. But just the tarp rubbing on that hardware cloth was tearing up the tarps, and it was just constant problems with those tarps. So trying this here, and so far it's been the best solution. I did use steel, as you'll see right there, but those get so heavy you can't move them. So those coops all just sit right where they're sitting. And he says hardware cloth or chicken wire for this side here. I've decided everything's hardware cloth because otherwise we have problems with raccoons. A raccoon probably could get through that plastic, but I've never had an issue with it. They just don't seem to understand that they can or something. I don't know, maybe they can't get their, that's pretty thick plastic, so maybe they just can't get into it. Hardware cloth all along the bottom. So this was meant to be a update on my on raising these birds without electricity, and I got onto a coop tour again. So we do have some colder weather coming where it's getting down like lows in the 10-day forecast, lows of like 68 or so. During the day it's been like between 94 and 100 or so. And these guys are about 2 weeks old, a little over, and they've been doing great. We had them in the brooders, and at night, because at night it would get down to 85 or something, 80 degrees, and they think that's cold. So we just mostly cover the brooder. Definitely give them some ventilation, but we'd mostly cover it at night, and that just their body heat was plenty. Then during the day, open it wide up so they can get lots of ventilation, and they're loving it out here. So far, they're doing great out here. Obviously not in the brooder anymore. But when we start getting those nights down into the 60s coming up, we may have to, what we'll likely do is bring some cardboard boxes in here and cut holes in the bottom so they can just go up under the cardboard box. So then they can keep each other warm with the body heat without piling. That should be plenty. That's the plan, but so it's mainly the time of year is what the difference is that we're trying out. Sorry about all the rambling, and I'm not going to be doing any editing or anything, so but the information's worth what you paid for it.